Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, very special guest, a former WWE World Tag Team Champion. He is an OVW Triple Crown Champion. He is Mr. Mike Mondo. Mike, welcome to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I'm glad we can make this work.
What is going on in your world? What have you been up to?
Oh wow. Yeah, 2022. Here we are. Well, I'm the head trainer at the New York Wrestling Connection Pro Wrestling School here in Long Island, New York. I started doing that about a month ago. Really enjoying myself. A lot of talent there. A lot of potential. Getting back in the ring physically in February at the Psycho Circus. That's the NYWC's biggest show of the year. So I'm looking forward to getting back in the ring and just doing what I love to do. But other than that, just keeping busy, doing seminars, online coaching. Actually, in fact, I have this service out there, Mondo Boot Camp. Pick them hashtag Mind of Mondo, and yeah, what you do is it's real simple. You send me a match, and I'll critique it from A to Z, break it down to the bone, show you the pros, the cons, what you could have done better. Really point out the little things and the things that really matter, that make a great match, the psychology, the footwork, ring positioning, the facial expressions, the body language. I mean, I will systematically dissect your match from A to Z, just for a low cost of $20. And, I just look forward to whoever wants to take advantage of the service and working with you.
That's very cool. And I always notice that you have those little messages on Twitter, like, you got to do this, you got to do that. Always good educational stuff out there you're putting out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've always wanted to use Twitter for a positive platform. I just never knew what I was going to use it for. It's like, oh, I'm going to the grocery store, hashtag that, right? And
Right. Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I want to use it for something more. And then it just kind of hit me. It's just like I just hit 20 years in the wrestling business, and I have all this experience and all this knowledge just from the people that came before me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna use it, and I'm gonna pass down the information to give it back to the business, which is what everyone should strive to do, going forward in their careers. And it just kind of caught on. One tweet led after another tweet, and getting this response and that response, and I felt like I was really kind of helping people out there. And I was just like, and I have fun doing it. I enjoy doing it, and yeah, if I can help somebody out there, I'm just glad to do it.
Looked like you were getting a ringing endorsement from Jim Cornette.
Yeah, Jim Cornette, he's a great friend, a mentor of mine. I know Jim for a real, real long time. I go way back with him, all the way back to OVW in 2003. He actually was the guy that got my foot in the door there, and also my foot in the door at Ring of Honor. And if it wasn't for Jim, I wouldn't have had half the breaks that I would have had in the wrestling business. Because, like to say, man, it's like it's right place, right time, who a little bit of luck. And when all those things add up, then your talent, your skill kind of speaks for itself. And, Jim was always a big advocate of mine, and grateful for him. And I know I wouldn't have the career that I would have today if it wasn't for him. So, yeah, I mean, it's great that he supports what I do. And I think that kind of gave me some momentum to kind of keep going with that as well. Because, for Jim endorses it, it's got to be a good thing. So, I just got nothing but the utmost respect for him.
NYWC, did you train there originally or no?
I
Like when
did.
you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I first started 20 years ago, in a little school in Hicksville, Long Island, New York. And yeah, my trainers were trainers that broke me in originally were John Curse and a guy by the name of Mike McMahon. And yeah, it was class every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and I was going to college at the time, and I always believe the younger that you're able to start something, the better chances of success that you have going forward anyway. So I was like, I'm just going to go for it, and I was there for like maybe a little bit less than a year. And then my first big break in the wrestling business came along, going to OVW. That's when Jim Cornette called me to come down. So I had to, that was the WWE developmental system, and I had to kind of jump on the bandwagon and not pass up that opportunity. But yeah, definitely, yeah, M1WC was where it all started. Very grateful for that place.
Full circle then, coming back to there.
Yeah, full circle. Yep, absolutely.
Almost like it's planned. 20 years later, I'm going to go back where it all began. I'm going to go back where it started.
Yeah, it's great, man. NYWC has always been so good to me. They always say the door's open for me 24/7 whenever I want it, whenever I need it, and they always lived up to their word, And it's just crazy how everything kind of comes around, goes around.
No Mikey Whipwreck when you started? He wasn't there?
No, me and Mikey always kind of missed each other a little bit. Mikey came back to NYWC when I left for Louisville, Kentucky. However, I did have the pleasure of working a couple matches with him. One when I was 21 years old. I remember that was at the Deer Park Community Center, where I was just the greenhorn, and I just listened to him and shut up, and he just led me like a champ. And we had a nice little match, I remember. And then years later down the road, we kind of crossed paths again, and I always believe the way you get better and the way you move forward in this business is to get in the ring with people that are better than you and that have more experience than you. Someone that you can make mistakes, and that trained eye will kind of point out, hey, this was wrong, and explain why. And I finally had that opportunity when I got to wrestle Mikey, because for a while I was kind of the most experienced guy here, in Long Island and everything like that. And to work with Mikey, someone that was better than me and had more experience, kind of brought my game up, just that much more. And we tore down the house on a couple occasions, and it was just really cool to work with him. And I'm just grateful for his teachings and everything like that. And just a hell of a guy. Just a really good dude.
With you like teaching today, are you like a more old school guy, new school guy? Because it seems like you're old school to the bone, but like, what do you think about training and how do you train your guys?
That's a really good question, because the business always evolves. It was different than when I first started, and when I first broke in the business. It was different in the past before that. It's just constantly, it's like a revolving door, and you have to adjust with the times. However, I do have just the way I was brought up, and just the way I was trained. Just that common denominator and everything like that. I stick to my guns. I stick to what I believe in, and you can't go wrong with emotion, telling a story, psychology, connecting with the people. Whether that's being a heel or a baby face, and just taking people on that emotional roller coaster ride, where the moves and the spots are kind of irrelevant. It's all the stuff that's in between the moves and the spots that matter the most. The timing, the acting and reacting to your opponent, and what you're doing. Again, the facial expressions. Um, always ask yourself why. Why are you doing something? When you're telling a story in the match. So, I train my guys. I train them old school. When they get done with me, they're gonna know how to wrestle with every single body part. They're gonna know how to get a heat on every single body part. I told them that I consider myself a failure as a trainer if you're not able to go a 60-minute Broadway by the time like your training's done. So, I kind of hold high standards, to myself as a trainer and as a coach. But I just all I'm doing is just giving back, and from all the information and all the experience that was taught to me to prior. So I kind of like to give a little bit of a mix of new school, old school, but just those old school values I just think are so important. The wheel's round, I believe. You can't reinvent the wheel. Again, you got to adjust, a little bit here and there. I can't be hard nosed, and I can't be stubborn like that, because I understand the business does evolve. But at the same time, the foundation's always true. It's always the same. And, what worked 50 years ago can still work today, I believe, if it's done right, but it's got to come from within here. It's got to come with emotion. It's got to come with heart. You got to be able to feel it. Dr. Tom always said, you have to believe out there, and if you're not believing, the audience ain't believing. And that's what it comes down to, suspending people's disbelief. It's like watching a really good movie, getting lost in the moment. And if you can portray that to the audience, what you're doing physically in the ring, and psychology wise, then you're golden, you're aces, and you're drawing money. When you're drawing money, then you put yourself in a position to get a job and keep a job.
My favorite Dr. Tom line is think, shoot, but work. He loves
Think,
saying that. Yeah.
yep, think, shoot, then work. Yep, and wrestling's like different flavors of ice cream. I like chocolate. You might like vanilla,
Yep.
John. But at the same time, it's all ice cream. We just like different flavors. But at the end of the day, it's ice cream. There you go.
And what's the other one? Oh, I like strawberry ice cream. but when I'm going fishing, I'm not going to use strawberry ice cream because the fish, you got to use the bait. I forget how it goes, but basically you can't use something that the person doesn't like. You got
Yeah.
you got to kind of use what they like to attract that type of person.
See, I never heard of that one. But it gives me a good reason to get in touch with them and ask them about that, though.
Yeah, yeah.
So, good
It's something
stuff.
about like I could bait a fish with strawberries, but fish, they're not going to eat the strawberries. I got to bait it with something that they're going to eat. So you got to, be a little bit more open, I guess, to maybe evolving or changing and knowing your audience kind of thing.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, everywhere you go, your audience is different. I encourage everyone to make sure they watch the matches when they're on a show, not just so you don't repeat the same things that were done prior during the show, but the audience is different. You got to see what are they biting on, tonight? Do they want to see violence? Do they want to see wrestling? Do they want to see comedy? Every audience is different everywhere you go. Especially when you go to different parts of the world, like Japan or gosh, you go to Tennessee, it's working different there. New York is a different atmosphere. So, but absolutely, you got to be able to know how to read your audience and cater to your audience to see what they want and what they're buying that night.
Just to go back to training for a second, I saw Kevin Nash just did an interview. It might have been on his podcast, but he was saying about he went down to the performance center. And he was training the big guys. He was working with them. Michaels pulled him off to the side. And was like, "We don't do that anymore. Like we're doing spots and stuff." And he's like, "Oh, he thought it was more like almost like character based and stuff." But Michaels kind of was like, "Let's work on more spots." I thought that was weird. It's like, wow, you're almost adapting too much to the new school and not doing enough old school. For me, anyway, that's what I took it as.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, I had the pleasure of going down to the WWE Performance Center and being a
Oh,
guest
oh,
coach.
nice.
Yeah, I was a guest coach down there for about 4 times, and it's interesting because like when they're teaching and everything like that, from my experience and from what I saw, is that you had coaches down there that preach and that teach the old school values of still slowing things down, telling a story, wrestling with a body part, getting heat on a body part. Um, but then like sometimes I felt like I was going to shows and just my opinion, and I kind of don't really see anything that they're teaching per se at the performance center, and they're falling back into those habits of spots,
Yeah.
going too fast, kind of just working for noise instead of building slowly to one big pop at the end. You know what I mean? So to me, that was like my only disconnect there from my experience. But as far as getting an education there, I mean, gosh, you're getting a first class education. You have 7 or 8 different coaches, veteran coaches down there. You got a green screen room down there to practice promos. You got a weight gym to get in shape. You got the best doctors and trainers down there in case you get hurt or you pull a muscle or something like that. So I mean, you're being put in a position to succeed when you go down there, and it's really up to you to embrace it as a student, being a student of the game. But yeah, the only one big disconnect is that I just what I saw like teaching and practicing, I wish I would have seen more of that stuff kind of being implemented in the shows. But it seemed like everyone kind of fell into that trap of, got to memorize everything A through Z, and just spot after spot after spot, and but hey, you know what? It's just I guess this is how it rolls, I guess, So that's just my opinion.
In wrestling, though, with today, shouldn't you be able to do both? Like you could do the spots, but if something goes awry, shouldn't you be able to kind of, I don't know, ad lib and take it into a different direction? It seems like to me you could see where the screw ups happen with a lot of guys nowadays. Not so much the older guys, but some of like a lot of the new guys, and you could tell that they go back to the spot and they retry it, like that kind of thing. Do you think it should be, if it's a mistake, ad lib, move on, so you kind of work through it?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm a big proponent, and I really believe it's a lost art these days. But being able to call a match in the ring, I think it's absolutely necessary these days to know how to do that. Some people disagree with me, but that's their opinion. Everyone's entitled to it. And just for the reason that you just said just now, John, it's like if something gets messed up, if something doesn't go as planned in the ring, and you're on live TV. or a house show or whatever the situation that you're in, you have to be able to adapt and you have to be able to change on the fly and be able to do so in a way where the audience doesn't recognize that, hey, something kind of is not really going to right here, right now, and I think that's what makes you a pro. To be able to cover up, adapt in situations when things don't go according to plan. But yeah, when something, for me, when I'm wrestling, if something doesn't go right or whatever like that, I don't immediately go try to do it over again. I'm gonna keep going with the match. I'm gonna improvise, and then if we get to it later on, I might go back to it, again. But I'm not gonna do it like one after another, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm
I feel
saying.
like I feel like a lot of it's like video games. You know what I mean? Like you're just playing the games, you're doing the thing, and they'll rehearse it in the back or whatever you want to call it. They'll kind of go over it, but there's no call in the ring. It's all they know exactly what they're going to do. No matter how the crowd reacts, they're going to do their spots.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't want to sound like one of those old school grizzled vets, like call it the
Right.
ring, brother,
Yeah,
call it
right,
the
right.
ring. Like it's okay to call stuff in the back. You gotta call a finish. Cut off spot. How you gonna start the match? But I just you have to be able to go out there and also, and especially I preach to guys, especially my students now that have the freedom to do this because you have on the independents, the window of being able to make mistakes is this large, right? But if you go to Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all of a sudden that window goes from here to here of making mistakes.
Yep.
You don't want to make too many mistakes when that window is this narrow. So I encourage guys to go out there and learn how to call a match in the ring on the fly, improvise, and make mistakes because that's how you learn. That's how you get better and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, like just have to go out there and you have to feel it. And a lot of times, guys they go too fast, and when you're going too fast, you don't get a good gauge on the people and stuff, and you step on your own stuff a lot of times. Whereas if I might give you a really good punch and the people bite, really well, and if I'm doing something right after, I'm not really getting the full appreciation from that punch that I previously just thrown. So you're not getting the most out of doing the least. There's so many just different variables, in the art of professional wrestling like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I call stuff in the back, but I just try not to do everything, in the back. That's all. I have to be able to gauge and feel my audience, especially if I'm a heel, because usually if I'm the heel, I'm calling the match, so I have to be able to feel and gauge my audience.
Sometimes I like the video game stuff, but not the
Hmm.
whole card. Like one match or something,
Yeah.
I don't mind that, but not like the main event or something. I mean, like maybe early on, and then you kind of build towards the main event, which should be more, I guess, the top guys, more character driven or more star hungry for the main event. But there's a place with video game. There's just not every match, which I see on some shows.
Yeah, no, again, you're right because and that's the problem. Um, that's the problem I also see a lot that I again how I was brought up, and Al Snow, I credit Al Snow for teaching me this. One of my coaches for a very long time, is that you can't. I don't want to see the tigers every. If I'm going to the circus, right? I don't want to see the tiger act every single act. I want to see the elephants, the freaking lions, the freaking trapeze. I want a variety, and I think a lot of guys out there today they struggle about building a card. And for example, when I say build a card, like the first match on the card, there should be no false finishes. Don't go outside the ring. Give them a good wrestling match, babyface over. Get the two most important matches on the card is the first match and the last match. The first match to get the people up, to get the people going, say this is going to be an exciting show. I'm freaking happy to be here. And then the last match being the money match. Draws the money, and that's going to be their last impression when they leave the show, hoping to get a good taste in their mouth and want them to come back. But I just think if guys just did a little bit better job of trying to build the card as a whole, so they don't get into that habit of seeing repeats and stuff like that. So boom. Then the second match, you got a tag match. A third match, give them the ladies. And now by the third match, now maybe you're doing one false finish. You know what I'm saying? With the finish being a sunset flip. So then the next match, now that people are educated that they saw a sunset flip as the finish from the previous match, you can do it for a false finish. So they'll buy it. So you're telling a story kind of throughout the card. There's more structure to the show, as opposed to going, all right, man, you're up next. You got 10 minutes. Yeah, you're over, and just do what you want.
Yep.
It's like, whoa, hey, that's why everyone's going outside the ring every single match. That's why guys are they're using like gimmicks like chairs or a table, 2 or 3 times the show, and it's just like it ruins its value. It ruins how the suspense, how special it could be. You know what I'm saying? You want to do something like that. You want to do it one time, and you want to make it count. And generally speaking, later on in the card, when you don't want to open the show with a tables match. It's just anticlimactic that way, I think. But you got to start small and build big. And it's just like working a match, except you're just working a match in a card form.
Great psychology. I love that. Where do you get like your knowledge of wrestling? Because it seems like very old school, but it seems so logical and like psychology based.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, just being in the wrestling business for 20 years, I didn't start out that way, but I take it very serious. I was very fortunate to have a lot of great coaches along the way, so I got a lot of quote unquote different flavors of ice cream. Just off the top of my head, Rip Rogers, a friend of mine, one of my dearest, like, just what a great coach he is. And he really taught me how to work, taught me how to wrestle and everything. And I still keep in touch with him to this day. I just got off the phone with him 2 days ago because I had a coaching question. I'm never content. I'm always trying to learn and get better myself today. I don't know everything, that's for sure. Al Snow, I credit him for a lot of my psychology, really learning the business of the match. That every match is not shine, heat, comeback, finish. But every match there's a purpose of why two guys are fighting in conflict, and you have to be able to recognize that and understand that, and be able to structure a match according so, whether it's to get heat on a heel or get a baby face over. And really taught me a lot about psychology. Lance Storm taught me a lot about false finishes. Where to put them in a match and how to get the most out of doing the least. Not to mention just phenomenal wrestler and really up my game just from a wrestling aspect. Bill DeMont, Steve Kern, Dr. Tom Pritchard. Let's see here. I know there's a couple more I'm missing here. But on top of all my coaches, I got to work with a lot of guys that are veterans and that drew money. And I embraced that opportunity as well. Like when I worked with Shawn Michaels and Triple H on the roster in 2006, that's when I really learned how to work like a main event guy. It's just different. It's a lot slower paced. You're working guys that are over, so you don't have to do as much to them. You can do 1 or 2 things to them and let them sell. And the people are just bringing on you like white on rice. And heck, I look back and I still made mistakes. I was doing too much to Shawn Michaels. I was beating the hell out of him, and I was just like, why? Because I'm just stepping on my own heat, and not getting the most from doing the least. So I just got to learn so much from working those guys. And Ric Flair, I got to learn a lot from Ric Flair, working him. Dusty Rhodes, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper. I spent a lot of time with Roddy Piper, especially after the matches. We'd hang out in the hotel room and we kind of go over the match that we had and everything. And he would break things down for me from A to Z. And say, this is what you could have done, Mikey. You could have done this here or that there. This was good, but it could have been great if you would have did this, and just being a student of the game and just not being content. And then, of course, of all the years that I've been coaching, you're constantly reiterating the basics and the fundamentals to yourself. You're watching what's being done and you're seeing mistakes. So you're reminding yourself, okay, well, don't do that. You know what I mean? Or that was good. Do more of that, and so you're constantly teaching yourself as you're coaching other people. And it's just been a great ride, and just implementing all those different aspects and stuff like that. And like I said, I got my go-to guys that I go to that I still ask questions that I trust if I have questions today. And but thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Yeah. I like to try to give a little. I like to have the mind of Mondo be a nice little mix that's different. That's has a unique approach. But kind of caters to today, but still sticks to my guns of having the old school mentality.
Back to DX and Triple H, Shawn Michaels for a second. I know, like everybody always says, "Oh, they didn't give you guys enough." They squashed the Spirit Squad. Remember, they put the little sticker on you guys and backed over you. What did you like? Obviously, you had a different thought, but us as fans were kind of like, they didn't give these guys enough. Did you think that they gave you guys enough? Like as far as enough offense, enough heat? Like, was it enough what they did, or did they kind of squash you guys?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where we needed to beat them on TV at least one time or two times, and I think because we never got a chance to beat them on TV, that when we did the house shows, because that's what the TV is. The TV is an advertisement for your house shows, so um, it was just one of those things where they just they knew they kind of knew the end. They knew the finish before really the finish even happened, and part of that's a little bit our fault from the beginning, because at the very beginning of our run we were very high energy, kind of goofy, not so serious, doing the cheers, cocky, arrogant, and Sean pulled me aside and he's like, now, you're one of my favorite cheerleaders, but I'm letting you know you got to smarten up the other guys. Is that when it's time to get your heat, you got to get your heat, because if you get in the ring with a guy like me, I got no problem turning all five of your heads and kick, 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 kick. And I kind of said to myself, and it's like, okay, well, I get that, and I'm glad he said something, because if we're not credible, if our heat is not being taken seriously, then when we get in the ring with, say, like a Shawn Michaels or a Triple H or a Ric Flair, no one's going to believe that we're ever going to beat them, But if we can create a question in their head, like we have a chance, then okay, that's sufficient enough, and we can work with that, we can move forward on that, But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I did think we needed to win, a couple times on TV, just to have that credibility, that maybe the squad can pull it off, and do that. Um, and a lot of our victories were by DQ, also like working Kane and Big Show and stuff. Like we could have used a couple good W's, I think, just to kind of cement ourselves and being just a little bit more credible, than what we were. But hey, sometimes you can't get everything you want for Christmas. You just gotta make the most of what you have, and you just kind of move forward from there.
Did you like the back to OVW thing? I mean, that seemed like such a slight. Like, what the hell? Like, you beat
Yeah,
these
I didn't
guys,
like
you
that.
kind of.
I didn't like it. I mean, there's a story behind it, really. Originally, that sign was supposed to say Tijuana. It was supposed to say going back to Tijuana. But Triple H thought it would be kind of funny because, like, Mitch had a little bit of a bad rap, and he would just get his heat sometimes when just really wasn't called for. Some of the most stupid stuff, and it's just like, I learned this in wrestling school. Why am I getting a talk from Arn Anderson about this right now? And
Yep.
but when you're a tag team, that's what happens. When one guy gets a little trouble, heat, and the kind of everyone kind of gets a little bit of that too, and that's just kind of what happened with with a lot of us. But anyway, a long story short, um, Hunter thought it'd be funny. He goes, "Hey, Mondo would be because Mitch, he's the shits. Is would it be kind of funny if we put a sign that said OVW, going back to OVW, like the developmental," which in hindsight, I mean, okay, but the illusion is all five of us are going in the box, not just Mitch, So
Yep.
it kind of, but I was, look, I was 23 at the time. I was a boy in a man's world. I'm not trying to make excuses. There's a few things I wish I can go back and do differently. That being one of them. I wish maybe I would have spoke up a little bit and be like, no, can we do it that way because of the illusion? It's really all of us, and kind of buries us a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, though it's crazy how that really stuck, because I still get asked about it to this day in podcasts. It's usually one of the questions that come up, and maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe I'm not, but I really don't put too much thought into it today. I just kind of move forward, But yeah, that's something I wish I would have kind of spoke up and said, "Hey, man, can we do it the way it was originally planned?"
Yeah. Because it's like a slight on those, like you guys, like you and Kenny. Obviously, it's like, wow, like they don't need to go back to OVW. Like, what the hell? What a
Yeah,
slight.
yeah, Yeah, that's just one of those things, you know. I mean, yeah, it could have been really just Mitch in there, but again, the illusion was all five of us. So, uh, you know, it just is what it is.
What did you think of H? Did you like working with him?
I did. I learned a lot from Triple H actually. You know, he was again. He's a Killer Kowalski guy, old school, and on the house shows we did a lot of calling matches in the ring and stuff like that. So you know, us just getting that experience and that knowledge, you know, we just shut up and listen, you know, and he was always really good about going over the match with us afterwards too, and teaching us the little things we can do to embrace our gimmick a little bit more, but at the same time do things where we're credible and getting good heat. You know, he came up with the singlet ideas because for a while we were wearing the white Under Armour and stuff, and yeah, no, he was real cool. You know, real just giving to us in the ring, especially in the house shows and stuff like that. So yeah, never had a problem with working with Hunter. Always real good. I mean, when I see him to this day, he always gives me a few minutes to talk and everything. So that's I appreciate that.
So, how do you actually get into OVW? You're mentioning a little, a little bit of Cornette's help, but how do you actually like get in? I mean, do they scout you? Is there somebody that's watching guys and like recruit you in?
Well, yeah, I got my foot in the door because I came home from wrestling practice one day and I went to the OVW website and I saw that there was a week-long trial camp down in Louisville, Kentucky. And that's the only way you were able to get in OVW at the time back then. It was by invite only. So they were
Oh,
holding this tryout camp, and it was $1,000. And I said, you know what, WWE is the place I always wanted to be at. This is the farm system, the minor leagues. I go, let's give this a shot, you know. So I put in my money. I guess they liked what they saw on my resume or my pictures or whatever it was, but I got a call back inviting me to come down. So I did just that. And the deal was if you get accepted, that $1,000 goes towards your tuition. And, you know, and if it doesn't, then, you know, you're left with a good experience and hopefully you learn something. So I went down there. Dr. Tom was holding the tryout. Jim Cornette was holding the tryout. Rocky Johnson was there. Rip Rogers, Danny Davis, and man, I was just under a year in the business, and I just just tried my hardest, you know. And I guess my hardest was good enough because when I came back a couple days later, I got a call from Jim Cornette, not hiring me, but inviting me to come down full time. He said I would have to get a job and everything down there, but I can train with the advanced class with the contract guys and start doing TV every Wednesday for them and kind of working the whole territory. You know, the house shows on the weekends, and that's what I did. And I was just like, wow, this was my first big break in the wrestling business, and it was definitely something I didn't want to pass up or I couldn't pass up. So I finished out my semester in college at Suffolk County Community College here on Long Island, and then off I went down to Louisville with pretty much nothing, you know, and just a kid trying to live his dream. And from there, you know, I became a coach and a trainer. Not much longer after that. They liked what they saw, and they were trying to put me in a position to get hired because they always WWE always liked my wrestling and my work, but they never really saw the money in me yet. You know, that was like, okay, well, he can work, but how can we make money with him? You know, and they were just trying to put me in these positions to try to say, hey, look, this kid's an asset because not only can he do this, but he can coach, he can, you know, and he's not even signed and he's training the contract guys and everything like that. And yeah, it was just everything happened so fast. And before you know it, I was turning 21 and getting signed to my first developmental contract. So you know, it was a heck of a grueling schedule for sure. You know, sometimes I put in 6, 7 hours of practice, boom, go to the gym right from the training center, shower at the gym, go to my serving job at Logan's to serve tables, get home at 11 o'clock at night just to freaking go to sleep by 12, get up at 7 a.m. to be my boots on at 8 a.m. practice, you know, and it was like that every Monday, Tuesday, you know, TV Wednesday. And it was just, it was wild, man. It was one of the greatest times of my life, though.
so technically you're a WB contracted guy under a developmental contract, but you also helped out training, or was your contract as a trainer who also wrestled?
Oh no, when I got hired, as it was a developmental contract as a talent.
Oh,
Yeah, I was never under coaching contract. No, no. But I was. What happened was like Lance Storm, the contract class got so big at one point. You know, it was kind of impossible for one guy to run the whole show, you know? So he split up the contract class into two classes, and the non-contract guys got bumped up to an 8 a.m. class. So it was my job to train the 8 a.m. class, and then for me to get my workout in with Lance at 12 o'clock, you know, get a 2 hour break just to come back at 4 o'clock to train the OVW beginners program that Danny Davis put me in charge of, which was a separate job on itself, as I was getting a payday from that on, you know, aside from my contract and everything that Danny was paying me to train the beginners class. And then after that, I would assistant train with Rip Rogers and do the intermediate class. So it was, I mean, I was, and Danny Davis would always call me out and be like, kid, don't burn yourself out. Don't burn yourself out, you know? And, because I mean, you got to the point where I kind of did burn myself out, you know? I mean, it was wrestling 24/7, but, you know, I just embraced it. And, you know, maybe that's just how I became the wrestler and the worker I am today, you know, just from living it for so long. Mhm.
So how quick was it, like, you're there and then they turn you into the Spirit Squad? Was that a few years that go by and they create that
About
gimmick?
2 years. Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah. I remember Jim Cornette just, he left already at this point. Paul Heyman came to book at that point in time. And I was kind of like in this stage in my career where I was kind of lost a little bit. And you know, I was just kind of felt like just a wrestler in tights, and you know, there was nothing really much more to me, you know, and I needed that little something extra, and I just couldn't figure it out. You know, Danny Davis pitched me working under a mask for a little bit. I did that, wasn't really feeling it, you know, and I was just trying different things. And then Elijah Burke was originally supposed to be in the Spirit Squad. This was a Vince McMahon idea, by the way, the Spirit Squad. But Elijah didn't want to do the idea. He turned it down. And that's how I got my break to step up and be in the Spirit Squad. I was home one Christmas, and Tommy Dreamer called me. And he's like, "Can you make it to TV this Monday? They're going to be in Jersey. You're in New York right now, right?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah, I'm home for the holiday." He's like, "Okay, show up to Jersey, put some highlights in your hair, you know, look all GQ." And so I did that, you know, and he took me in front of Stephanie. Stephanie took just a look at me like that and goes, "Yep, that'll work," you know. So really, my look really alone kind of got me the job, you know. And I was so over prepared work wise, like doing a match was like I could do that in my sleep, you know.
Right.
So, but I felt good. I was like, okay, I got some direction now. I got some you know, some pointers here, you know, because for a while I was just like kind of like a deer in headlights. I didn't really know where I was going, but now that I had direction, I was able to embrace the cheerleading thing and kind of make that work. And it was a good time.
Yeah, Elijah Burke in the Spirit Squad, I don't know if I see that. I don't know if it fits.
Yeah, you know what? I think Elijah would have did all right though. He has a very loud personality, especially if you know him personally. You know, I love Elijah, man, but yeah, he's definitely he has the personality for it, you know. But you know, he believed in he had different alternative motives, you know. He believed that there was another route for him, you know. We all knew the Spirit Squad was going to be a run, you know. We weren't going to be the Spirit Squad forever, you know. And just Elijah, he just, I guess he believed in himself that he had a different path, and for his credit, it was the right decision because he went on to be a singles guy after that and made a name for himself in the ECW, and then he went to SmackDown, and you know, he had a good run, you know, a really good run. And then after that, he became the Pope and went to TNA, you know, had a good run there. And now he's in NWA, I believe.
Yep.
And Elijah is a smart guy, you know, he can hell of a promo. He was actually in the OVW tryout camp with me. He didn't know anything. He was brand new, and he got accepted as well. So obviously they saw the talent in him too, you know, and so good for him. You know, I wish nothing for the best for Elijah Burke.
So the Spirit Squad was actually Vince McMahon's idea, not Paul Heyman's idea, as far as the gimmick?
Yeah, no, that was a Vince McMahon idea. Yeah. So, you know, we knew it was going to get pushed to the moon. You know, we knew it was going to be, the engine was going to be behind it, so to speak, you know, and that's exactly what happened because when we went to TV, you know, we were kind of thrown in the main events right away.
Yeah.
You know, we were working with Kane and Big Show. Two months after our debut, we were winning the tag belts the day after WrestleMania 22. And then from there, we went to work in main events with DX. And then Flair would get in the mix, and when Hunter or Sean would have the day off on the weekend, Flair would take their place. So we're constantly it's like in like a rotation of these great top guys, that draw money and everything like that. And here we are, just rolling with it, doing the best we can, trying to freaking run with the ball, and it was great. It was really great. And, after that, we had a run with the Highlanders, Crime Time. And then we kind of went back to the main events again when we worked with the legends, with Roddy Piper, Flair, Dusty, Sarge, Ron Simmons. So a lot of great experience. A lot of great experience. Mm-hmm.
My buddy used to tape, I guess it was on WB or CW, whatever the channel, used to tape OVW during that time period, and
Yeah.
it seemed like to me, call me crazy, the Spirit Squad was, like, tougher, I don't know, that maybe you guys were getting more heat in OVW, it just seemed like a different character. When you got to WWE, it seemed more cartoony. I just remember you guys being a little bit more, like, dangerous in OVW 'cause I was really paying attention. I was like, "Wow, okay, Punk and Albright had that cool feud, the grandfather's whip or his belt or whatever. I mean, they had this cool thing. I was like, wow, the Spirit Squad. This isn't like a corny thing. It's like these kind of like psycho male cheerleaders. Then when I got to WB, it was kind of like, yeah, they're almost more cheesy. Am I right? Or am I wrong? Like you guys kind of got a little bit cornier on WB.
Yeah, a little bit, I think, yeah, I think also we we were in different positions at OVW, like before Kenny was Kenny, he was Ken Doan. Johnny Jeter was Johnny Jeter before he was Johnny, so I think Paul didn't want us to change like too much from what we were, because that's what the people were educated and seeing and everything like that. And I think we needed to, you're right, maybe bring some more, looking back, we could have brought more of that FU bone to WWE, you know. And yeah, like I remember at the very beginning of WWE, our run was very character driven. Heck, we didn't debut in the ring physically until like a month after our debut. We were kind of just doing cheers, the whole time and
Yeah.
everything like that. So that kind of maybe we've gotten the stigma of that, like kind of right off the bat, But when it came down to OVW, you know what? Maybe it was just a confidence thing. I don't know, because like I remember back in the day when if I had a dark match as an extra, I would come back to OVW and my lats would be a little bit more spread. It was like, man, I just had this dark match in front of freaking
Yep.
10,000, 15,000 people. What's working in front of 300 people now? Like this is a piece of cake. It's a walk in the park, And I had a little bit more of that confidence, a little bit more of that edge, to me. So maybe it was one of those things, I don't know, but yeah, we and that's what's funky about the Spirit Squad is that we needed to be able to turn up the heat when it was time to, because we were such a gimmick, we were such a character. So in order for us to be credible, as I mentioned earlier, with Sean, is that we had to be a threat, and convince the people that we were legit. So and as hindsight's 2020, I look back now what I know now, and I would have done like a lot of things differently. But you're in the moment, and you're just trying to please the boss, because you're pretty much working one show at a time. You can be the greatest thing one night, and then shit the bed the next week, and now you're the shits.
Yep.
You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? So it's
Yep.
like you constantly have that pressure of you're always trying to prove yourself and you know um kind of steal the show and stuff like that. But yeah.
I could see Vince saying, "Oh man, I hate male cheerleaders." Like I could picture him like going, "I hate these guys." Like him really getting invested into the gimmick because he probably really hates like male cheerleaders. So which is true. I mean, a lot of guys would be like,
Mhm.
"Oh," like as soon as you guys started doing those vignettes, it's like, "Man, these guys are annoying." Like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
Mikey and Nikki." It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, I hope these guys get their comeuppance. I hope they get their ass kicked." Was his kind of thing to you guys? Like, be as annoying as possible.
He actually loved it. I remember when we first met Vince, with when he wanted to meet the guys, and we got flown to TV, and Johnny Ace was like, "All right, let's go meet the boss," and he's like, "All right, remember, guys, you only get one chance to make a first impression," And we already kind of had an idea what we wanted to do. We knew that already through Paul
Yep.
Heyman, that you already have one chance to make a first impression. So we had this little idea that we were going to do to, and it was either Vince is going to love it or he's going to tell us to get the hell out. It's one or the other. So we get in the elevator, we go up to meet Vince, and one by one we run into his office, and I'm blasting the air horn, and he kind of like looks up, takes his glasses down, and he's looking at us, and we do our thing, Kenny, Johnny, Mitch, Nick, Mikey, whatever, and do a cheer. We got spirit, yes we do. How about you? And right in his face, the air horn, and he just goes, ha, 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 this is gonna work. This is gonna work, and he actually penciled us in the debut that night on TV, but it ended up not working out. We had a dark match instead, but we did debut the week after that. So yeah, Vince was a fan of it. He liked us. I learned a lot from Vince too. Especially through promos and character, and gosh, probably one of the best heels of all time. So just really, it was really cool to work with him.
Did you like doing the vignettes though? Did you think like, "Oh, this is just so much fun," because you could just be whatever you wanna be, I mean, you could be as wacky and crazy as you wanna be.
Well, the vignettes, I don't remember shooting vignettes. We never did vignettes for WWE. Now we did
Well,
some
like,
vignettes.
not vignettes, but, like, when you would be like, "Mikey," like, you guys pop in and out of the screen, and it's almost like
Oh,
the promo videos, I guess you would call them. I'm not sure the exact name, but it's almost just like you guys announcing yourselves.
yes, yeah, it was very over the top, very obnoxious,
Yeah. Yep.
very loud, and I just remember for me because I was a football player, you know what I'm saying, and I remember in high school I would see the male cheerleaders, and I would see how they would act, and how they would be, and it was
Yep.
just like, oh, I mean, male cheer. So I kind of like knew, and I just kind of incorporated what I felt as a kid, and just brought that to life, 20 years, 10, 15 years later, you know what I mean, on live TV. Because, like, honestly, the guys hated us, but the girls loved us, So it was just catering to that, and just being that loud, that obnoxious, type deal. But again, when it comes time to push and shove, you got to be able to back up what you can talk a lot of crap, but you got to be able to back it up, And could we have done more of that sooner? Yes, but again, hindsight's 2020 looking back. But I thought we did a good job adjusting and doing what we had to do. So yes, I think we could have had a longer run. I think it was only like a little bit under a year. I definitely think it had a little bit more longevity to it. But you can only pitch so many ideas, and just again, can't control Mother Nature sometimes. And what they want to do is what they want to do, and they told us that they had plans for us afterwards. So because you want to keep moving up, obviously, after the run, you don't want to kind of get lost in the shuffle and everything. So, but yeah, that's just kind of how it rolled out. Mhm.
On one hand, you're on TV, you're working with Vince and Michaels and Kane, Big Show, Triple H, you're working with all these guys. But do you think like, oh man, this gimmick's kind of got a shelf life. I hope this doesn't hurt me in the future. Being the male cheerleader hopefully doesn't hurt me in the future. I mean, on the other hand, it doesn't hurt Ziggler at all, right? So is that what people are thinking? Like it's just a way on TV, then I'll build myself up to another character.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we knew that the Spirit Squad had a run, and I trusted, for me personally, like I trusted myself that I was kind of over prepared at that point in time, as far as in ring work goes. I can cut a promo, heel or babyface. I had some ideas in the back pocket of mine, because the original plan afterwards was for Kenny to go solo as a heel, for Johnny to go solo as a babyface, and for me and Ziggler to be a tag team, a heel tag team, and Mitch was going to get sent back down no matter what. That's from what I
Right.
understood, because he just wasn't, wasn't, no disrespect, but he just wasn't, there yet, and so that was the idea, that was the plan, and I remember even when the squad ended, it was like, all right, let's, we waited outside Vince's office after TV for a good 5-10 minutes, and he opened the door, and we pitched this idea. It was like the frat pack, kind of like a spin off of the squad, but a little bit more serious, kind of role a little bit. But the people will be familiar with us, and kind of like a little spin off of what we did. And Vince, he shook our hand. He's like, let's do it. Sounds great. It works. It's like, all right. So we kind of left. We got everything we needed to get, as far as what the frat pack needed to get. And, next week our flight got canceled. And that's something, again, I wish I can go back and change, is I wish that I would have kind of me and Ziggler both wished that we would have bought our own flights and went to TV, and just kind of showed up. They weren't going to kick us out. I mean, because Vince shook our hand, so let's do it. Let's do this idea. So, but anyway, we were like, okay, our flights got canceled. We'll be going to TV next week, and just unfortunately, it was one of those things we never got called back to TV. And shortly after that, we went back down to OVW, and then we went to FCW for a little bit. And then, eventually I left the company in 2008, and Ziggler went on to be on the road. And I know Kenny started out with Rated RKO, was there for a little bit, and then his run ended. And so it's like originally all the plans they had for us, everything went in a different direction anyway, so
Yeah, definitely.
one of those things. Yeah, but I always believed in myself, and I always had confidence in myself, I always knew I can work and I can get a job and keep a job. So whatever path they were going to put me on, I'll do it to the best of my ability.
And it's interesting. They bring you guys back in 2016 for a little run. I guess when Road Dogg was booking SmackDown, he brought
Yeah.
the Spirit Squad back for a little run.
Yeah, that was really cool. That came out of nowhere. I got a phone call. I remember I was at a baby shower, and Ziggler texted me. He's like, "Kayfabe, but the office is going to call you, come to TV." And I was like, "What?" You know what I mean? Like, talk about not even like a hint, and sure enough, the office called. It was supposed to be a one-off. Long story short, it was supposed to be a one-off, but it got such a good reaction that the writers there at the time didn't even know we had a run prior. They thought we were just brand new. This is like how, like, I guess, out of touch they were about the
Yeah,
history
wow, that sucks.
of product. And they were like, yeah, we really like you guys, and Vince liked the way it went over, and then he brought us back next week, and then we came back to the pay-per-view, and then we had a really big moment and a false finish at the end, which kind of really made that match that much better. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they can do something with Heath and Rhino now, and we were it wasn't really known for non-contract guys to be on TV at that time, because I mean, they put a live microphone in our hands. We're not signed. We could have said anything we wanted to say. So they must have had some trust in us, and obviously we wouldn't do something like that. But I'm just saying it's very abnormal for a couple non-contract guys to kind of go out and get that opportunity of, week after week after week of, live TV and stuff. So really, in essence, we turned a one-off into about 3 months, and then, just one day, I remember we were just doing a 15-man. It was like, I think it was honestly, it really was a 15-man tag match. It was crazy. It was like friggin' 10 on 10 or something like that. But I had a feeling, like, I was like, I got a bad feeling that, the run's going to end soon. Just because, like, I just didn't really know where we were going. The thing with the Miz and Ziggler kind of fizzled out. They really weren't doing anything with the tag teams then as much on TV. And then honestly, it was one of those things. Just you stay persistent. You call them when you don't hear from them. But it was a lot of, we'll get back to you, and it just fizzled out. Never got a hint or a call or an email or nothing. So it's kind of unfortunate. But again, that's the nature of the beast, and that's the business. So that's how it goes.
I remember that got you like a bit of an indie run, House of Hardcore run, MLW
Oh, yeah.
run, right after that. So some interest was definitely peaked.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it definitely freshened us up, for sure. And like you just said, we got a lot of bookings out of it. Seminars. We got to go to Australia a couple times, working for Tommy Dreamer. We went all around the States. Me and Kenny just working MLW. We got an opportunity there. We did a shot for Ring of Honor, working the Young Bucks. So it was really cool. It was good. It was good exposure to get freshened back up again. Mm-hmm.
It's funny. So Spirit Squad, dies in the early or mid 2000s, a little bit late 2000s, but then it resurged. It's funny. You wouldn't think of it, but it did. It resurged for a bit.
I'm sorry. What was that last part?
It was a bit of a resurgence for the Spirit Squad, which was kind of surprising.
Absolutely. Because I mean, everyone kind of, not everyone, but like people kind of like they belittle the gimmick a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, it's just gonna have a run, and then people are gonna forget about you. But people really never really forgot about us. You know what I'm saying? Like it got, I
Yeah.
think it got way more notoriety and more longevity than people ever would have thought. I mean, heck, we're still mentioned. You know, I mean, on that one, thanks to the WWE Network, though. I mean, that's a big help too. But like the magazines and stuff, like we'll get thrown in there. Like, where are they today? And everything. So it's like they still bring us up every now and then. And it's not like they completely let it go and forgot about us. I think we were five guys, five talented guys that really made chicken salad out of chicken shit. We really embraced the gimmick. I think we made the most of it for the opportunity that we got, and I think it showed. I think through our passion, I think we made it work, and I think we did a good job. And I think because of that, that's why we got another run a little bit later on in 2016, because that's how the business works. It's like a revolving door. You'll be on top one day, then you'll be working the opening card the next day, then sometimes you got to get let go and go away for a little bit, to come back again, a couple of years later where you're freshened up, and that's just that's the nature of like doing the territory system back in the day. You do a run and go work for Stu Hart. You do a run there. You go to Texas to work with the Von Erichs. You do a run there, and constantly just go to work for Vince. And it's just like the nature of the beast there as far as working the territories and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good. But I think we made the most out of what we had.
Definitely, yes. Very, very
Mhm.
true. As we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish. What's next for you? I know we were talking about training stuff, but what else? Are you doing wrestling anymore? Are you retired? What's going on with that?
No, I had a little health scare. I was diagnosed with blood clots in my leg, and I had to take some time off. I couldn't do anything physically in the ring for a little over a year. So I had to get that taken care of. So in the meantime, I was doing a lot of training, a lot of coaching, seminars, and stuff. But thank God, I'm good to go now. I'm healthy, 100%. So that's put behind me. So now I'm working on getting myself in better shape. In February, it'll be my first match back in the ring. That'll be for the Psycho Circus at NYWC here in Long Island, New York. And then in March, I'm going to Italy for a seminar and a match as well. And I'm kind of looking to get booked up from February on. So if you're a promoter and you want to book me for a show or for a seminar, you can email me at themikemondo at gmail.com. I'd be happy to hopefully we can do some business together. And also, again, I want to, the Mondo Boot Camp, the Mind of Mondo, match critiques for only $20. I will dissect your match from A to Z, the pros, the cons, all the little things, give you tips and what the big leagues are looking for. And just you will I promise you will leave better. If you don't feel that way, I'll give you your money back guaranteed. So, but you can DM me, follow me on Twitter, the Mike Mondo. Email me, themikemondo@gmail.com. And I hope we can work together and look forward to it. So, yeah, that's what's been going on with me. And also training guys at MYWC Wrestling Academy. So I'm doing that also as well in the meantime. So it's been pretty busy.
Nice. So not retired and looking to come back. That's a good thing. I like that. Getting back in there.
Yeah, it's great. Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. I got the itch. I've always had the itch. I'm going to be 40 years old. 40 years old in March, and it's just time for one last good go. One last push here, and I'm not getting any younger. I feel good. I feel healthy. This hasn't gone yet. I still got it up here. That's the most important thing. As far as my psychology and just the ins and outs of the business. And I think it'll be just like riding a bike for me physically. I think I obviously am training, but it'll come back one thing at a time. And I'll be looking forward to kicking some ass, and entertaining some fans all around the world.
Who is it? Buddy Rogers that said your prime hits when you're 40, or you start doing main events when you're 40. Was that Buddy Rogers? It might have been the old Nature Boy.
Yeah, and also Rip Rogers too. Actually, maybe Buddy
Oh,
said it as
really?
well. But yeah, Rip would say, I mean, when you first broke in the business, you work in the opening match against, a veteran, and that's how you learn how to work. You weren't only in the main events until you were like 35, 40, and had all those years of experience prior hand, but that was a different time for sure, So, but yeah, I've heard that before too.
Awesome. Well, good luck with the NYWC, and obviously follow you on Twitter because the mind of Mondo. I love that stuff. There's a lot of good advice you're always giving out on there. So that is some good stuff. Keep that good stuff going.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep it flowing. Absolutely. And like I said, just if I can reach out to somebody and help them, then it's well worth it. And I'm happy to do it.
All right, Mike. Thank you for all the time today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was fun going down memory lane.